remember that was like a moment where I was like, okay, this is history. Like, I'm watching history be made.
What was your job description for production assistant on the Speak Now record?
So Nathan hired me. It was my last semester at Belmont, and he's like, I need a production assistant. Would you be interested? I was just kind of his right-hand person, whatever he needed help with. So the Speak Now album, they were in the middle of recording that. A lot of that was just sitting on the couch, just being like, hey, anybody need coffee, Chick-fil-A, anybody need anything, I got to see that whole album come together. I was booking the bands too. That was a lot of what the production assistant does, is book the session musicians, book the studio, make sure everything's running smoothly, and then, getting all the union stuff together. I got to see that whole album come together, and that was a really cool album to be a part of because, Nathan was a track guy before that was really a thing. And so, I just be sitting in his basement studio on his couch and like watching him create. I called them the finger drums because I'd never seen it. It was just, he's making drum sounds with his fingers and on the keyboard, and I was just like, this is amazing. And, and Taylor wrote that album by herself. So she's in the vocal booth, just singing the songs. He's building the tracks around it in his basement studio, and it was really just Nathan, her, and then I'm just on the couch, and then they take that to Starstruck, and then they'd add the live instruments to it. So I got to hear those little finger drum tracks turn into, real studio tracks. And like one of the coolest moments, like I was sitting there in Starstruck, and, all the musicians are going in there to record Enchanted. And I was sitting there on the couch and it was just the engineer and me in there, and the musicians start adding the live instruments to Enchanted. And I remember that was like a moment where I was like, okay, this is history. Like, I'm watching history be made. Because she had him totally blown up then, when I started working there, we were just walking to Starbucks, and, she didn't have security with her or anything,
Right.
She was just a normal person. And then I feel like when I think she won the Grammy, like that January, like 2010, she won Grammy for Fearless for album of the year.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was just like exploded, where like then every time I would pull into Nathan's studio and she'd be there, her security car was outside the driveway and have to back out, let me in, and it was a really cool album to be a part of. But production assistant, I had the easiest job. I have my name's in her album. I got credit, and